Welcome to Barre Talk. I am so excited to have a very special guest to me, Runqiao here with us today. Everybody say hi!
Hello, everyone. It's really wonderful to be here.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic.
I am so proud of you because I think that you have taken on this quarantine like nobody else. You have, brought so much to YouTube, and you have made the choreographer academy so accessible, which I love with the tradition. What has that been like for you?
You know, Maria, do you remember when we met in Pittsburgh and we were just talking about choreographer academy? You know, I love to hear what other people's perception of choreographer academy.
Right.
And I certainly had my set of perception and my sort of impression of the choreographer academy. And oftentimes, the perceptions always, the reactions always were somewhat closed, somewhat isolated, even for Washingtonians, because we are in somewhat not the most cosmopolitan part of Washington, D.C. It's a very beautiful residential near Catholic University, really beautiful area. But just as far as the school goes, we're somewhat not known for open ourselves up, to open all doors, to show everybody. And that have a lot to do with the tradition. That have a lot to do with the pure respect for academic training, and somewhat privacy to the teachers and everything. But remember, we're talking about time have changed, right? Time have changed. So I always refer to a social media, to the front, to the public, as if a department store, you have the shops, you have this windows. So when people walk by, we look at the windows, then we see what you're selling and what is your styles like and what is your energy, what's your color preference. So I treated the social media part of it as our window to the world. So whenever people walked by on social media, on internet, hey, let's see what choreographer academy is all about. So when they decide to do that, I want to give them absolutely the true face value. What is choreographer academy all about? And I want to give people a realistic, true understanding of what the school is all about. That's why since I became director, this is one thing that I really, really focused on, because when I see the school, we have produced just tremendous amount of talent, and the level of the students, the level of the faculty, they needs to be shown.
Well,
the world needs to know.
I texted you the other day because one of our very first episodes was with Sasha DeSola, and she went to the choreographer academy. I was like, here's one of the alumni right here.
Yeah.
You know,
all the time I see some great dancers that they turned out to be alumni of choreographer academy all the time.
Yeah.
And this is really needed to be addressed. And I think it is not just our choice. We had to do it. We have to do it. It's just something I think every organization have to do it. And it's a marketing.
Balanchine used to say you have to change with the times. Right?
Yes.
And so I think that otherwise, if we stick just to the tradition of what ballet is, there will be no more tradition. We have to bring it into the times.
Exactly. And marketing is absolutely must, is an essential tool of each organization, school and the company. And to do it correctly, to do it in an organized way, to do it in an engaging, high quality way is important, because it is a reflection of your school. If you treat it some kind of somewhat carelessly, that's a reflection of the organization, truly. Right. As far as in terms of your website, you look at the website, and if I look at the school or company, I look at their website, I can tell a lot about this organization through their website. The wording, the picture, the font, just overall energy and at the professional level of the website. It's a truly, truly reflection of the organization.
No, I agree.
So, yeah.
Okay, are you ready? Now, Runqiao, you're a very thoughtful person, and these are speed round answers. So these are either or questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly?
Gene Kelly.
Robbins or Balanchine?
Balanchine.
Blues or jazz?
Blues.
Statue of Liberty or Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower.
Fantastic Beast or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
Dogs
I'm an originalist. I'm an originalist. Yes.
Okay, I know you're a purist. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Weight training or Pilates?
Weight training.
Doritos or Cheetos?
Doritos.
I think Charles Askegaard said that one too. Okay, France or Spain?
France.
Godfather 1 or Godfather 2?
1.
Original, purist. Who cares or La Valse?
Who cares?
All these Balanchine questions for this Begon of a boy. Okay, and Grand Allegro or Pirouettes?
Grand Allegro.
Disney or Nickelodeon?
Disney.
You have little girls, so I had to go.
Yeah.
Sophia Loren or Audrey Hepburn?
Sophia Loren.
Saturday Night Fever or Grease?
Greece.
I love it. Okay. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
That's a hard one. I would say Thanksgiving. Oh no, I would say Christmas. Absolutely Christmas. Yes.
Okay. Porsche or Ferrari?
Porsche.
And Giselle or Swan Lake?
Giselle.
You did so good, and you didn't have to think about it.
I didn't think. I was a little suspicious because you never really give me anything. The question I supposed to prepare. That's fantastic. I should have. This is something I need to learn. I need to copy this. This is fantastic. I had no chance to prepare this.
You're so funny because I was like, oh, he's always so thoughtful. What am I gonna do? Chris, I lost it. Oh no, I'm ready. Okay, so we're gonna start the next section. I'll edit it in because we get this.
That is, Maria, that is fantastic. All right, talk about thoughtful. You really thought about this. You really did.
I have to give credit. It wasn't me. It's my boyfriend who set up the whole structure of this. So, and he's filming B-roll. So he did.
We're gonna have to learn. I'm gonna have to steal this idea. This is really great. I had no time to think.
No time to think. Okay, here we go. You know who was really funny? Was Wes Chapman.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was like so funny about it.
I'm
Okay,
sure.
Here we go. So, Runqiao, our next section is 10 questions in 10 minutes. We can take longer than 10 minutes because I always love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And you know what I loved about you too, where I knew we connected, is I always love to hear Mr. Marks talk. And when you and I met in Pittsburgh, the two of us just sandwiched that man and just listened to him and everything he had to say, right?
I mean, I was going to pull out a notepad and just take notes. I mean, honestly.
I know. I mean, he's so funny and witty too. And he just drops it. He just has so many wonderful things to say that still need to be heard, all the way.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have him as a guest. He doesn't like Zoom, so I'm going to have to do it live with him.
Don't tell them as a Zoom. It's an interview. Don't tell them as Zoom. Just the interview. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. What inspires you about being a teacher?
I really learned teaching a lot from actually Miss Suzanne Farrell. And I really had her as a teacher when I became very mature, became a dancer, and I was well into my career. Right. Then I had her as a teacher for 10 years. That's why you ask about me knowing all this George Balanchine. I danced for Suzanne Farrell for 10 years. I coached by her, and I danced all these beautiful ballets. And she really redefined the idea of teaching for me. And I think I absorbed a lot more just because I was mature. I was not a student anymore. I was a developed dancer, and I was in the prime of my career. Then I had a teacher figure, like a coach, truly,
right?
Like Suzanne Farrell. So that I learned everything from her in the way that I did not learn in earlier age when I was a student. So that made a big impact for me in terms of coaching and teaching. Yes, for sure.
Okay. So you've been on both sides of this world, and I just want to know your thoughts as ballet has turned into a lot more competitions. Can you talk to me what you think are the pluses and the minuses about that?
The pluses about competition is really bring the ballet to something popular. And I think in American culture, if with anything there's a competition, there's a competing element to it, it's become popular. Just because you add another element, not just sitting down, enjoy and understand and absorb the art form. Whenever there's a competition elements to it, they bring a popularity and intensity to the whole event. So that competition aspect definitely propelled ballet and dance as the art form, bring the popularity and intensity to the art form. That's really, I believe, it's a plus sign. And I also, another plus side for me is that it provide a goal, provide a result. Whenever there's a result-oriented project, people have a tendency to be a lot more focused, including me and the students. So we normally, in regular school and choreography academy have exam. That's also an end product that people having that thought in March, end of the March, will have exam. So you prepare in the way that it is a goal-oriented preparation. Ballet competition serves the same thing. And I think that's two main important positivity for me. And I think anything talk about, I couldn't really think, because ballet competition has been around. It's just become so popular now. It's been around. In Varna, we have a Moscow International Ballet Competition with the Jackson, the old school, the ballet competition has been around all the time, Lausanne. And I think in terms of, if you talk about negativity, that I really couldn't think of any. And I like competition because I like that stimulation. I like the excitement. I like that adrenaline. I like how I see students succeed. And I also like to see students fail.
Yep.
Honestly, I see it because they learn more from the failure.
Always.
Always. So if anything, I think a school dedicate themselves only to competition is something I try to avoid. It's the idea of a competition school. That is something I'm not sure I can accept at this point, just because you are dedicated too much time and energy on one element, and somewhat you sacrifice a lot of other things that needs to be involved in the educational system. Yes, I believe the idea of competition school, I'm not ready to accept that idea yet.
So let's talk about educational system. That's a perfect segue to my next question, and to you kind of telling about where you are. Can you kind of talk about your training, because it's really expanded 3 different continents, so very different of how that grew up, and talk about how the training in each country could be a little different. So can you tell us how you started and where you started, and then kind of compare that to being in America now?
Yeah, I started in the school. The name is called the Shanghai Dance School. It's a very simple, modest name, Shanghai Dance School. But there's a lot more to it. First of all, it's a government-run program.
Right.
So every time there's a program, it's like China, they have an educational system, is when they see a group of children or they selected kids that they see there is a special talent, let's say for ballet or for diving or for running or for basketball, they put them in specific programs from very, very young age. So the whole program is dedicated for you to be that excellent in that profession. So everything is geared toward training you to become a ballet dancer. That's when I was selected, 11 years old, to the program, to a school. It's an isolated boarding school. So everything in that school is in servicing for you to become a professional ballet dancer.
Right.
So it's a lot more focus-oriented training. And I had gone over training when I was in China in school, because that was the only system that we understood, and we had in the tradition that it was passed on by Russian, but at the time it was Soviets in 1950s. So the school was much very much set up like choreographer academy. So I was very familiar with when I went to choreographer academy, although it's much smaller, but all this insights, all the ingredients were there. The academic environment in terms of ballet and academic, it was very well put together in the way that very convenient. For instance, you don't have to go this particular department for this and put this particular school for that. Everything is in one door, and you have a dormitory, you have a cafeteria, you have a nurse's office, you have a counselor's office. Everything is set up. So I went to such a school like that. So when I came to United States, right away, the biggest difference I felt it was dance school is more of a majority of the dance school. It's more of a hobby. That's one thing that I felt it was very different. Even if I went to Washington School of Ballet right away, it's one of the more professional element school in America. It has such a long history since 1944. Miss Mary Day created the school. But still, it's an after-school program.
Right.
So to me, that's a very big difference in terms of after-school program and the professional program. So it took me a long time to understand the differences.
Yep.
And then once I understood, and I thought that actually the American system, it provided a lot more freedom in terms of a children's development, artistic development, and intellectual development. Because I did not know, and I'm curious to know if I had the opportunity to learn other things, because I do have interest in science and history, anthropology, and politics. What if I had those stimulation and opportunities, what I might become?
Right.
So that because I went to program, those privileges were taken away because the government decided you are going to be a ballet dancer, and we're going to do everything we could to make you become a ballet dancer. That was a very simple mission, very simple.
Well, in your case, I'm glad that they did, because I wouldn't want you to be a politician or anything else.
But the thing is, Maria, a lot of my classmates, if you look at the rate, how many people after we have many students decided to do something else upon graduation.
Yeah.
They burned out in such a young age. They just burned out.
Right.
I'm the lucky one. I am still optimistic about ballet, and I love, and I had gone through a transition from a performer, a dancer, to a teacher, and now I'm in this role. So sort of I'm still in the business.
Right.
But a lot of people burned out in such a young age. That is a downside of that kind of intense training in such a young age.
So let me ask you this. If there was a dance style other than ballet that you could learn, what would it be? Is there another dance style that you wish, like, oh, I wish I would have trained as that as a kid? Like for me, I would have loved to do flamenco. Would have loved to do flamenco.
I think I could be a good ballroom dancer, and I could.
Yeah.
I could, because I mean, I don't want it to be vain, but I'm a good partner in ballet, classical.
It's not vain. I think that that's a fact. So
I have a, like Philip too, good partner. That's something that about partnering in men. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
Something can be taught. Yes, the technique, the basic handling, and the basic everything can be taught. Yes, we do that in the class, in the ballet partnering classes. But there is something, the sensitivity, the intuition, the connection, and the basic need to serve other people, sort of taking pride in making another person look beautiful. That's something natural. I mean, I think Philip had that because he always made his partner look absolutely phenomenal. And I also take joy. I take joy to make my partner look beautiful, and I'm proud. So I think I can be a ballroom dancer. I think I can.
Maybe you and your wife should take ballroom dancing. I'll babysit.
I never have. I never have, but I think I can. It's looks very elegant, looks very beautiful, and I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second, because I think one of the things that I just love about you is that besides ballet, you're very dedicated to your family. And I know in the arts that can be like a hard thing. That's a really hard thing. And that
Yeah,
at this point in my life, I'm learning to have that balance, right?
yeah,
So can you talk a little bit about how your children influence you and
yeah,
how having a home life can really initiate a good work life?
yeah. It's a very beautiful question, Maria. I'm very happy you asked. I have to say, my family is my rock. My family contribute to. I always sometimes I have a good day and I come home and really I told my wife more than half of my success belonged to her. Seriously, because she is the one kept me
Yeah.
grounded. And when I see my children, I see purpose why I work.
Right.
Everything makes sense when I come home. There's not many things that there's many things out there. It doesn't make sense for me because it's just complex the world we're living in. And at least at that day, I couldn't find answer, appropriate answer or solution for the issues. But when I come home, I can always find an answer. I can always find my purpose, why I work. And when I see my children, my problem goes away.
I think that
Simply put, I need my family to
that
function.
I think that's one of the best things that the arts community perhaps has taken away in positivity in quarantine is so many of us do not get this time with our family or our significant others, and
Yeah,
having this time really changes a lot.
yeah,
Okay, let's talk about you being a dancer.
yeah.
What is what is your favorite role you've ever done? What's a role
I
you love to dance?
I I loved Albert in Giselle.
I could totally
Yeah,
see. Yes, 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 yes. I could see you.
I
Yeah, but
I I somewhat can relate to Albert. I can relate to it. Somehow both the first act and the second act, Albert, I can see myself as as an Albert, and I was very comfortable in the role. A lot of classical ballet, the male role doesn't have really a bones flesh and to it, like a Prince Charming. Who is that? You know what I mean? Even Siegfried, even Siegfried, it's kind of unrealistic, somewhat not realistic
Mhm.
role. But what I love about Giselle is that story is realistic. It can really, you can really see it, the love and betrayal, betrayal, that kind of story. You can see it today,
Yeah.
right? You can see it because the second act could very well be his dream. He may be hallucinating, or his dream, or he's something that he thought of. But the story, I can see this character has a lot more true feelings, realistic feelings, and the feelings that any male can relate. I can relate to it. That's why I think I was really touched when I was dancing that role, and I learned a lot from dancing that role. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on the opposite end of that, is there any part that you wish you could have danced that maybe you just weren't right for it? Like Philip said, he's like, I always wish I would have been cast as Prodigal Son, but that's never gonna happen, you know?
Because he's too big, he's too tall.
Right. So is there a role that you're like, I wish I could have done that, but it would never happen?
There's a role I did Apollo just one time. I just don't one time, and I wish I danced a little longer. I wish I could have danced that role
To grow into it.
to grow into it. I only learned and I danced one time, and it was a transformative experience.
Right.
And I think I regret the fact I never really had a chance to do again. I would like to, this is type of role that you needed to do it in a span of, let's say, 5 to 10 years as in your career. then you really can learn about the role in terms of the technique and also learn about yourself. Um, I actually learned how to dance the role, and it was most intriguing moment when I actually saw Peter Ball, now the
Ah,
artistic director of Pacific Northwest Ballet, and I see many people dance Apollo, and it's just glorious, walking statues, and they're just absolutely godly figures. But Peter really did it. He again inject the feelings, inject a true person, like he put a life to the role.
right.
When I saw him did Apollo, I saw Apollo. I did not see a walking sculpture. I saw Apollo.
Yeah.
I understood who he was. And when he danced, I was in the wing. I was just watching every second of it. I was just watching and watching and watching and learn every little piece of it. And this is one advice that I want to give to the young dancers. You really needed to learn from the generation before you, and for those people mastered in those roles, and you can just learn so much from it. And I certainly learned so much from Peter just watching him dancing that role. And I wish I had a more opportunity to dance it, really.
I love that. That's a great, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just timeless, the stories of, like, it's just timeless. Okay, so Runqiao, this is not an intelligent question. You always ask me intelligent questions. Once you hung up the white tights and you no longer had to wear the white tights, was there a food that you just ate like all the time? Like pizza or like something crazy?
I was actually underweight, as when we always never really, I
Always
always,
the boys. The
so
girls never
when I
have
was
that
dancing,
problem.
actually, when I was dancing, Maria, I never really think about what should I eat, what should not eat. Honestly, we need a calorie. I mean, as you ask any male dancer, they'll tell
No,
you
it's
we need a
now
calorie.
that you have to think about that.
Yeah, we need a calorie. So this is I never really had that issue. So it's not like something like I had to restrict myself to do it.
So do you have a favorite gluttonous food? Like, I can't eat bread, so I would love to eat pasta. Like, that would be my dream.
Why can't you? You can't eat pasta? You're Italian.
Bread
Why
or
do you eat
grain
pasta?
or sugar. It's not fun. So what about you?
I tell you, you asked this question. I am going to share with my take on this issue. And I love dinner. Okay,
Okay.
dinner to me, I like big pasta dish, rice dish, and chicken and beef. Just
Love
sit around, eat with my family. Just have that.
it. Okay.
But I do have to share with you. Because I don't dance as much. I show as much when I teach as much as I can, but there's no way you can compare to when you're dancing, that kind of calorie output.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I am eating dinner early. This is one thing that I try to do it very diligently. I don't want it to eat so late, like the typical dinner time when I sit around with family and I drink wine with all the friends and go on, just sit in the back. Now the weather is fantastic and to sit in the back with friends and talk and eat. I love that. But
On the
for
regular, you
me,
try to eat earlier. I think that's,
yeah, I try to eat early. I try to eat a late lunch or early dinner, so be done with it.
yep.
And in the night, I try to just be very good about it.
I love
So
it. I
this
think
is
that's
one
great.
one dietary discipline I have for myself, and I try to not to eat those things that I really love, the
With
the
that.
the grain, the pasta, the rice in the late night. So that's something that I kind of miss. I really miss it.
I think that's
But we all have to do what we need to do.
okay. This is the end of our time. Can you believe it?
Are you serious?
I know. So, okay. What? Okay, because I think that sometimes if we could give words of wisdom to our younger selves, I think that really helps the generation today. So if you could give words of wisdom to your younger self, what would it be?
I truly, I mean, I never prepped this question. I never knew what that you might answer, just without really thinking about it. And I want to tell myself to be a little bit more observant, conscientious,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more patient, perhaps, and just to pay more attention to details
Oh,
of everything.
mhm.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
In general, in my work, just pay a little bit more attention to the details, my work and my life. I think
I think
this is one thing that I be more observant, to be more conscientious, to be more detail-oriented approach to things. And I think that's what I would have done more. But you don't know these kind of things till
later on.
you pass.
Yep.
It's later on, yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Dancers out there, if you have not checked out the YouTube page of the Kirov Academy, go check out the YouTube
And
page.
Facebook and
Facebook.
Instagram. Facebook is we have a lot more Facebook page, a lot of information is in Facebook.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely phenomenal. There are days where I'm just sitting at the doctor's office and I'm like, what's Runqiao doing today? And, you know, it's a daily dose of positivity and, you know, it's just dance and it's a really great way. And I'm really proud of you for doing all of that.
Thank you,
So
Maria. Thank you.
keep it up. Keep it up. Okay, we're going to
Thank you
dance
so
out
much.
Runqiao. We're going to dance.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Thank you, Maria. Yes.
Here we go. Music. I love